Welcome back to Out of the Rough. I'm joined by Fred Kreger. Fred Kreger is a professional at American Family Funding, mortgage professional. And you're also an expert when it comes to consulting credit unions. I know you're big in that world. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fred.
I want to ask you a little bit about credit unions and focus on credit unions because I've always been a fan of the small financial institution. Tell me some of what is a credit union and how is it made up?
Sure. So basically, a credit union is part of a cooperative network of literally people helping people. So in fact, it exists to help people that in order for them not to make a profit. So it's kind of weird when you think about it with respect to larger banks. So you have big banks and you have small community credit unions. And so in fact, actually credit unions saved last year $6.3 billion a year from their members using credit unions at lower fees and higher interest rates. In fact, without the credit unions, the larger banks would probably charge higher fees, probably charge, give lower interest, and actually probably charge higher interest on loans per se.
But now you probably know from the show, I'm a big fan of credit unions, and I'm also a big fan of small community banks that deal with kind of the business banking, if you will. But they really compete against the big financial institutions. But their origin started a lot of times, let's say, as a spin-off of a big company, right? Like, let's say, Hughes Aircraft, or that's how they started. That's where they got their roots?
Right, exactly. So a credit union is usually made up of like-minded individuals. So again, had you mentioned, is that's probably someone who worked for a Boeing, or actually one of our big credit unions is associated with a university, et cetera. They're like-minded individuals. And I always say is that, when I talk to them, it's like when you borrow money, you're actually borrowing money from the person that's right next to you. I always use the story of It's a Wonderful Life, and people remember that, the Bailey Institution, and literally that is what it is. Mm-hmm. Is that the money that you're getting to purchase that car today was actually given to you by the person right next to you, or the person that you're in the Chamber of Commerce with, or the person you're directly in the same office with. A little bit different than looking at a larger, big bank, where literally, and when you look at it, is that credit unions are a non-for-profit. And what does that mean, non-for-profit? Is that they don't take all the profits to give to shareholders. They don't give it to basically pay big salaries to board of directors. In fact, the board of directors of credit unions are all volunteer. And so that way the profits that are earned through interest that they charge is given back to the members.
And it's given back in the form of lower interest rates. It's given back in the form of lower fees on loans, higher returns on your savings or deposits. So I believe that's how they really get back. Isn't that the way they do it?
Right, exactly. And one other key point that I really want to point out to you is that in this day and age, we're hearing so much news about lending is so much harder these days. Lending is difficult. It goes to the larger institutions, and they're turning down loans left and right. The difference, Fred, between credit unions and larger banks is that sometimes they use what's called make sense underwriting. In other words, that if it makes sense, that person that deserves that loan gets that loan. And I think that's the clear difference between a very, very large bank and a small credit union that gives back to the community. And I think that's one of the key points we want to point out, is that larger banks, the profits go to the larger corporations, go to the shareholders, et cetera. Again, the profits from a credit union go back into that community. And I think that's really important in this day and age. Let's face it, the society has gone to a certain point where sometimes you get away from that person-on-person type of interaction. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important for people to really understand and look at credit unions and what they have. I mean, let's face it, they still offer the same amount of services. They're checking, savings, CDs, retirement, auto loans, mortgages, home equity lines of credit, personal loans, vacation loans, et cetera. And they offer other services. They offer financial planning. They offer insurance services. And you get to go into a local credit union that you know the people that are there. And I think that's really one of the key important parts, again, that distinguishes a credit union from a larger bank.
From a larger bank. Yeah, great point. Also, another thing people don't know is a lot of credit unions that originally were smaller. Let's say Cal State Northridge's credit union. I'm an alum. Matador's Community Credit Union. They became a community credit union, so not only do they just serve those at the university, they can serve those in the community now within so many miles. So we're seeing community credit unions sprout up.
Right, exactly. So again, what started before is that they started with a particular, what's called a segment group, or a group of like-minded individuals that are through work, through associations, through charities, or what have you, now have really saying, okay, let's go ahead and spread the wealth into the local community that we serve. And again, as you pointed out, it's just one of a great opportunity for people really to take advantage of exactly similar services, but in terms of being offered at a better rates and quite honestly, a better customer service experience.
Good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Fred Kreger. Fred, how can those that want to reach you and have more questions for you reach you?
Well, best thing to do is if you want to call me directly at 661-505-4311. Best thing is I do a blog every single day, which is fredkreger.com, and people are going to murder our name, but it's FredKreger.com.
FredKreger.com. Thanks so much. Appreciate you coming in the show, and thanks for sharing that important information of the distinctions between a big bank and a credit union. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Fred.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of Out of the Rough. If you'd like to watch this online, go to scvtv.com or fredarnold.com. And if you'd like to ask me a question, or if you'd like to have a special guest on the air or a certain topic, email me, fred@fredarnold.com. Until we talk again, make it a great day, and I hope this information helped get you out of the rough. Thank you.